couple of weeks ago. And
Oh.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Tuesday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Doing fine, thank you.
All right, Bill, what are we looking at here on the screen?
Well, what we're looking at is at the moment the percentages of generation sources in the Southwest power pool. And if you look onto the left there, you'll see a map that's kind of mostly blue, going from basically the Canadian border down to the Red River Valley, in West Texas and places like that. That's all the Southwest power pool. Of course, south of that is ERCOT, which is the Texas sort of independent grid. But what I thought was I'd like to check this just periodically. How much power are we getting from wind, right? And that's where we are right now. That green slice, 2/3 of our power is coming from wind power.
Nice.
I wanted to share that. So
in that whole region.
In that whole region, right. Now there are differing colors. So the more purple it is, the more negative it is, which means that the wind power generators are actually being paid to produce energy that they don't need, that the grid doesn't need.
It's too much energy.
It's just we're getting too much energy from wind power.
That's kind of fascinating. I'm going to crap on wind today, so I've got a hit piece on wind today.
Oh, good. I'll take and rebuttal it. How's that?
There you go. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I'm fairly agnostic about energy, right? I even talking to nuclear people. I'm like, look, we're talking about all this stuff, all these nuclear reactors we could put in between now and 2050, but we're never going to catch up to what solar is doing right now. Solar is installing a gigawatt of power every single day. Every single day. When we're talking about getting a few gigawatts a year up of nuclear, I had somebody who's like, oh, but fusion is going to do this. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have the fuel to power fusion. I was looking at some things that somebody was writing about on LinkedIn this morning. He was talking about how the NRC isn't the bottleneck right now. Everybody likes to call it the boogeyman in the nuclear industry. And it's because Trump's put a lot of pressure on the NRC to get things moving along. And some of the real pressures are really on fuel supply. And as an example, Kairos makes a molten salt reactor, and they need, I believe it's lithium-7 to make their product, and Putin won't let them have any. So they can't make
I guess we could buy it from the Iranians if they were willing to deal.
They don't have it either. Only two countries can make lithium-7, and neither of them will sell any.
Oh no, I'm just referring to uranium in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they might have some. No, there's no shortage of uranium, but I get where you're going with that.
Yeah.
So I've talked a lot in here about Oklo stock. Oklo is on our list here. It shows it's up. It's green today at $47. It's up 3.73%.
Wow. Well, after it crashed.
After it was at $193 at the end of last year. I mean, that's terrible. I'm sitting here. I've been trying to determine if now is the time to buy back in. There was insider sales of $100 million worth of stock. Okay. It's not a good look. Okay. So apparently this insider sell of stock really destroyed.
Everybody, I'm looking at this thing, everybody's green today. Why is that? Did they think there's going to be some kind of a settlement with Iran or what? What's going on?
I think it's just a bounce. Everything's been so bad that we had to have a green day. You can't just go down every single day. I look at some of these numbers scrolling on the screen, and they're pretty low for some of these companies. Man, that new scale one. Let me see SMR stock. What are we looking at there? So SMR is at $10, and back in October they were at 45. I mean, all these stuff.
That sounds like my tiny crypto investment.
Yeah, our editor added BWXT on there. It's up 4%. Now, BWXT I've talked about is a situation where they're the ones that make the reactors for the Navy, right? So
right.
They're already producing, regardless of where the SMR market goes, they're always going to be selling to the military. So they're not going away. I don't know so much. I mean, there's market manipulation obviously going on with what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. I saw somebody interviewing somebody who was a protester yesterday. They're asking, should we really be focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz? Is that right? Isn't that a little homophobic? And the person agreed with the guy.
Oh God!
Those damn.
I saw a headline today that apparently Hegseth may have been caught doing stock trading, which reflects on potential profits or whatever that he could make or sales because of the war in Iran with Iran. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some countries. I was reading something about how China handles some of this stuff. Like, if you're a political leader, you're not allowed to own stocks and anything. They've got weird rules. But at the same time, you have access to all the palaces and, billions of dollars of stuff to enhance your lifestyle while you're living in the politics, but you're not allowed to take it personally. And it's just like, well, I guess you better stay in power, right?
Yeah, but I guess that's what Xi Jinping is attempting to do. So
but NewScale, for example, which is SMR, is the stock ticker, is down 71% in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
But they're up over 5 years. If we looked at a 5-year period, they're up a little bit. It's kind of sad. I really can't believe they're probably a great buy at $10. It's just hard to fathom in this space, because since I've really been following nuclear for the past year, I've really saw everything shoot up last year, and then it just, crapped back down. But the Oklo one, I've been trying to determine. But when I fed the AI about the big insider sell-off, it said, there's a 60% chance it goes to the moon again. And about a 40% chance it keeps going down. It actually said I should look for a $38 entry at this point, but it's up to 47 right now. But anyways, I want to talk about Tesla. So Tesla, for the past 6 months, is down about 18%. They hit kind of a new low yesterday at $355. They're around 366.
Right.
Owen and his donuts, man. You'd think Owen owned a Krispy Kreme.
I think that's the battery, right?
He's talking about the batteries. I mean, I don't know. They're probably about, though, if you ate one or the other, they're about the same health benefits.
No, I don't know.
One would be tastier, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, a legitimate.
The battery would be tastier,
one of the least healthy
right?
things you can eat. It's like a biological disaster that tastes good. Anyways, but Tesla has been getting hit a little bit.
Are you talking about the warning from HSBC?
Yeah, he'll have to respond to that. On Tesla, I haven't seen the warning from HSBC.
Yeah, HSBC has a warning out that they could see this thing. There's a lot of factors that they point to, like competition, and they basically referring to the company stock largely being driven by hype, and that HSBC is now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what, Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank Corporation, HSBC.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
But
that's really good.
so much of the stock market is driven on hype. And
Well, yeah,
I
isn't
mean,
that
that's
the
kind of
point?
the nature of it. The one I was mentioning, BWXT, that seems pretty solid, trades at pretty high price to earnings, or traditionally, by traditional
Yeah, but
reasons, but it's still not high as like Tesla.
look at the P&I on Tesla. I mean, God, it's just 300 and something, 360 PI on that compared to what the normal car makers is, now maybe, a fraction of that.
Yeah, Tesla's current PE is 338. So
PE, I don't know why I say PI. PE, yeah.
Yeah, price to earnings. But it's interesting. Its 52-week low is $214. It's at 369. Its 52-week high is 498. So it's dropped 17% in the past 6 months. But you just never know where it's going. And there's so many different. Tesla is one of the most popular stocks there is to trade. It has a certain amount of volatility that has always been somewhat predictable. It's usually moving in one direction or the other for a bit, and it seems to be somewhat predictable. So day traders like trading it. It's really popular in that regard. Analysts have cut 26 growth estimates from 8%. Well, from 8.2% to just 3.8%, with Morgan Stanley and Morningstar now predicting an outright decline for the third consecutive year. Cash flow is actually turning negative at Tesla for the first time in 7 years. Tesla expects to burn over 5 to 8 billion in free cash flow in 26 as it doubles CapEx to 20 plus billion for Robotaxi and Optimus projects, ending 7 years of positive cash generation. Stock reality check. Tesla's shares dropped below 382, down 20% from December's all-time high of 498, as the stripped-down Model 3 and Y variants.
Goes my audio again. Damn.
Failed to reignite demand after losing the $7,500 federal tax credit. All right, we'll just zoom out and come back in, Bill. And, not unusual to see Bill with his technology issues. All right. We've talked a little bit before about Lucid and Rivian have broken the dealer stranglehold in Washington State. The Washington Senate Bill 6354 allows Rivian and Lucid to sell directly to consumers like Tesla, bypassing the 30s era franchise dealership model. Half of U.S. states are now EV friendly. About 50% of states have eased direct sale restrictions, but Alabama, Arkansas, Connecticut, Iowa, Kansas, and Louisiana still maintain total bans. I find that kind of interesting because isn't the Tesla center here for Omaha, isn't it over in Iowa? Saying Iowa still has direct sales bans. I guess maybe you have to go in there and buy it in the location then. Maybe that's why they have the locations in Iowa. Can you hear me now, Bill?
I've got you now.
Okay, you're good. You're back.
Lost my audio again.
The National Automobile Dealers Association state-by-state battle since 2014 is crumbling as EV startups successfully argue the dealership model doesn't work for electric vehicles. Well, we've kind of noticed this. You see most of the hate that comes in the space. EVs are bad for dealerships. There's no question. We've discussed this many times. It's a bad model for dealerships. The lack of service is a bad model for dealerships. I understand why people go to dealerships. It's that human connection, right? But it's just, do you really want to keep going and getting your car serviced? Do you love your dealer that much?
When do you get your car serviced when it's electric? Maybe replace wiper blades or, there is a schedule for, things. I think at some point, some of the, if your motor has any type of gearing, you probably need to go in and get that oil replaced, every 5 years or something. It's just not, every 6 months come in and get your oil changed, every 3,000 miles or whatever. Not there.
Yeah. I think it was before the show that I was talking about the difference between solar and nuclear in terms of installations.
Mm-hmm.
That was before we went live, wasn't it? Yeah. So one of the things that's kind of staggering, we've talked about this on the show before, is that worldwide about a gigawatt of solar is installed every single day.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it's crazy to think about. And when we talk about nuclear, we're usually talking in megawatts, which it's 1,000 megawatts to a gigawatt. So
Right.
if there's a gigawatt of solar being installed every day, that's a huge, huge amount. And when we talk about nuclear, when you see a big cooling tower, I always reference that as being about a gigawatt. Each cooling tower represents about a gigawatt of electricity. That's typically, they range anywhere from 800 megawatts to 1.2 gigawatts when there's a cooling tower. So it's pretty easy to go by that.
Estimate the size,
yeah. But AI data centers face a 49 gigawatt power shortfall by 2028. That's 2 years from now.
2 years from now, we need to have 20 gigawatt power plants.
Yeah. Well, that's just 49 gigawatts.
49.
Just a huge number. Data center demand projected to hit 74 gigawatts total by 2028 with a 49 gigawatt shortfall in available power, nearly equal to Canada's entire annual consumption of electricity. Okay. Bring your own power strategy. Data centers are pivoting to off-grid solutions, natural gas, on-site renewables, microgrids, SMR nuclear, fuel cells, as traditional grid connections delayed by permitting political battles. Consumers will pay the price. Power spreads, profit margins expected to rise 15%, driving electricity bills higher, becoming a major midterm election issue as voters blame data centers for rate increases. At the same time, I've got an article, and this is bipartisan. Elizabeth Warren and Josh Hawley are pressing the Energy Information Agency to mandate annual electricity disclosure for data centers. Part of the problem is that the data centers haven't necessarily been forthcoming with accurate information as to how much energy they're going to use. And so this has been a bit of a challenge. Now, the solution has been more of this off-grid, bring your own energy. I know I've heard Trump talk about, now data centers are going to have to bring their own energy. There's not going to be energy to give them from the grids. And a lot of this is just taking this stance. I was telling you about this data center going on in Virginia that is going to increase the carbon emissions of the grid in Virginia by like 35-40%.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. And that's going to be an off-grid, a somewhat off-grid data center that's going to be another one of these ridiculous.
So what are they using for their power source? Natural gas?
Yeah, that's the only thing you can use. I've got somebody that I'm trying to work a deal with in Florida that's going to do a data center that needs 2 gigawatts of power. And it's funny because their website is nothing but pictures of solar farms.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time. Yeah.
Yeah, but solar is going to be, even if they put in a gigawatt of solar, this is the thing. Solar is generally, on average in the United States, about 14% efficient, meaning that if you had a gigawatt of solar, you really are only getting about 140 megawatts 24 hours a day.
Right.
Okay.
And because there's about 8 to 12 hours when you're not getting any. So
yeah. And you also have time of year issues. We have shorter days, longer days, things like that. So there's other issues with it. I'm certainly not trying to, it's not near you, Bobby. I can't disclose it. I'm under NDA. In fact, I don't actually know the exact location, but I know it's near enough to where I'm doing a project that they can use my power. So I'm talking with some folks to supply waste to energy for the facility. And I'm working on a solar canopy project up near Jacksonville, where we're going to build 180 apartments, and we're going to have 100 acres of commercial manufacturing, and we're going to put solar canopy parking in the apartment complex. It'll work out to about 1.5 megawatts of power in the apartment complex from solar. And then we'll have about 12 megawatts in the commercial facility, which is only a couple blocks away. And our thought is to have the battery storage all be in the commercial site. At the commercial site, we have an old steel mill that's been repurposed, but the steel mill has tremendous electrical infrastructure. So there's some advantages to the site, but that's nothing compared to this data center expanding to 2 gigawatts. I know they have an option on 3,000 acres of land, and they want to put in some huge solar farms. But even that, 3,000 acres of land would give you 600 megawatts of solar if it was entirely covered with solar panels. And even then, that's still only 14% efficient. So you're looking at roughly about a gigawatt. I'm sorry, not 100 megawatts. You'd be looking at roughly 100 megawatts equivalent compared to natural gas. So it's mostly going to be natural gas is what I'm getting at. But still, they intend to put in an amazing amount of solar and battery storage, but you just can't. You almost just can't get enough. You almost can't get enough land. Can't get enough panels.
Do we know enough about the data centers? Is there a cycle? Like typically for human consumption, we have the parabola, that goes up around noon hour and then slowly drops off, and overnight there's a trough and so on. Is that similar, or is there enough of a time lapse of people in China using data, grabbing data out of Virginia to sort of keep that a steady demand all 24 hours?
I wondered that myself, because you'd think about it, like when I'm using AI is typically, well, it's when I'm awake. It's a lot of hours. I mean, so I'm not using it when I'm asleep. So you'd assume that to a certain degree that would be going on, that there wouldn't be a crazy amount of usage of AI in the nighttime here in the United States, even if people were hitting those from other parts of the world. I don't know how that might play out.
If anybody knows the answer to that, please comment below. It would be interesting to know what the usage cycle is for data centers. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen any information on it.
Let's see. So Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are introducing a bill tomorrow that would pause new data centers in the U.S. until national safeguards are in place to protect workers and consumers and ensure the technologies don't harm the environment. I don't know what the concern is for the workers. I haven't heard of a lot of workers being injured by building data
is it
centers.
People building it or people operating it, or both?
I don't know, but they're certainly gobbling up all the electricians on the planet. To run cables. AI and robotics are creating the most sweeping technological revolution in the history of humanity. The scale, scope, and speed of that change is unprecedented. Congress is way behind where it should be in understanding the nature of this revolution and its impacts, according to Senator Sanders. Bottom line, we cannot sit back and allow a handful of billionaire big tech oligarchs to make decisions that will reshape our economy, our democracy, and the future of humanity. We need serious public debate and democratic oversight over this enormously consequential issue. The time for action is now. We need a federal moratorium on AI data centers. Most lawmakers of both parties have rejected the idea of a moratorium. There's certainly challenges. And as we've talked about some of the numbers that we've seen, well, I think some of it's grandstanding a bit, Owen, but I consider a lot of politics to be theater. But at the same time, as we've been talking about on the show,
they have a point.
Yeah, there's a point. There's a major shortage of power, and it hasn't been solved. And natural gas isn't the end solution. There's so many other types of energy, but you know, like one of my friends, he's huge on pushing geothermal. There's so much availability in theory of geothermal, and it works in some places. But when you think about it working in like Iceland, or you think about it working in Alameda, California, you're still talking about very,
You're sitting on top of fault zones, basically.
yeah, yeah, you are. But
You've
also,
got lava to heat that subterranean moist water.
I guess part of it is it's not been done at scale.
Well, they run pretty much most of Iceland and a fair share. I think they have a fair share of their
Iceland's not as
power.
big as Omaha, though,
Uh,
population wise.
I don't know. I'd have
Okay,
to look at
so
the
and
population.
that's kind of what I'm getting at is it's not really been done at a big scale. I'm not saying it couldn't be, but that's one of the challenges, right? I'm just saying there's challenges to all forms of energy. Okay,
Well, yeah,
yeah, natural gas has a real problem when you can't get it through the Straits of Hormuz, right?
particularly compressed liquefied natural
Right.
gas. Yeah.
Yeah, um, and I'm just saying that there's a little bit of geopolitical instability right now with fossil fuels, um, and yeah, yeah. Um, and people always call, the sun the fusion reactor in the sky. It's so difficult to make enough solar panels to really solve the issues and make enough batteries to solve some of these questions. Battery production is going up immensely. I see so many companies getting into the battery space. When you think about Ford and GM are now getting into the battery storage space. Tesla's been in it for a long time. So Tesla is already a leader in the space.
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla has huge,
Very well pioneered.
yeah. I mean, they have huge facilities in Hawaii and Australia. They're building a 400 megawatt facility in Puerto Rico. You just don't hear about it. It's not like it's big news. That people want to talk about the Model S and the Model Y and all that. Who cares about big batteries, right? And it's important in this data center space, but you're just not seeing it otherwise. All right, Bill, it's time for my hit piece.
Okay, go for your hit piece.
All right. Thousands of dumped wind turbine
I
blades in
knew you were going to
Sweetwater,
bring that
Texas.
up. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. This is kind of interesting. So this is one of the big criticisms. There's two criticisms of wind. Actually, maybe there's three. That one, it kills birds, right? It's like, well, a lot of things kill birds.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one is they're ugly. But oil rigs aren't pretty either.
No, they're not. I don't know why I always hear. I think they are one of the most beautiful forms of kinetic art that there is. What's not to like about that?
I don't know. People just want to complain. Okay. With the third is the recycling of the turbine blades.
Now here we have an issue. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and there's been things like we talk about with EVs. Yeah, there's a disadvantage with EVs. You can't tow, at least not that well.
You could if you got big enough, honking
if you're driving a
battery.
Tesla semi.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's everything has its purpose, right? And I'm certainly not here to hate on wind, because at the start of the show, Bill was showing how well our power
Here in the
grid.
Midwest, boy, we're reaping the benefits of having all that wind we have today.
Right, right. But anyways, a company called Global Fiberglass Solutions collected decommissioned wind turbine blades to recycle and dumped thousands at two sites in and around Sweetwater, Texas, and Nolan County. Some blades have been sitting there since 2017. Over 4,000 blades are currently piled up. I can't picture 4,000
I know.
blades. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality issued an enforcement action against GFS as far back as 2022, but GFS never obtained the required permits and never cleaned up. In February 26, a Nolan County grand jury indicted 4 individuals on charges included illegal dumping, which is a state felony, theft of property, engaging in organized criminal activity, which is a first-degree felony, but the accused don't live in Texas or even in Nolan County. Um, and the state is pursuing the civil route, and the DA's office is pursuing criminal. But these need to play out before a cleanup can begin. The cost is a massive $5 to $15 million, depending on transport and disposal method, with no clear answer on who pays. Now, let's talk about this, though, expanding it to a nationwide issue. 2 million tons of U.S. wind turbine blades are projected to be retired by 2050. So that's over the next 24 years, okay? That's 200 to 370,000 tons per year by 2050 at the current trajectory. U.S. infrastructure cannot recycle the existing or anticipated volumes of end-of-life fiberglass composite blades. Up to 78% of decommissioned blades simply end up in landfills. They're made of fiberglass reinforced epoxy rosin, a thermoset composite that can't be melted down and reformed. You can't just throw them in a recycling bin. There's a few options. A landfill, cheapest, most common, but the blades are 150 to 300 feet long.
Yeah,
and some landfills are banning them. Shredding for cement kilns burns the fiberglass as fuel filler, works but limited scale. I was kind of wondering if you could shred these down and use them almost, imagine if you shredded them down and used them like rebar. I mean, if they're that strong,
hey, your friend is doing foam, right, to make blocks?
Styrofoam.
Why couldn't we shred these down and use them to make lighter weight concrete blocks?
Well, I'm of the same opinion. I'm thinking the same thing.
Now, the problem is, of course, is that where they're located, right? Because you either have to do it on site or you have to take and transport them to wherever you're going to process them and manufacture the blocks. I would assume doing it on site would make more sense.
I mean, when you see one of these things going down the freeway and you got a part of a trailer and you got a part of a trailer that's underneath the other end.
The other one, 150 feet behind it.
Right. I mean, it's unreal how large these things are. And you'd think they'd only be transported by train, honestly. But maybe the train tunnels don't work.
No, I would imagine, because that's going to take at least 2 cars for each blade. Mm-hmm. But then you could, if you got it, you could probably stack them, and it'll get 2 or 3 or 4 of them up per 2-car set. So,
yeah, well, apparently there's a chemical recycling where you can break down the rosin, recover fibers. It's promising, but expensive and not at scale.
Yeah, I think that's down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or somewhere down there. People have a university project's been working on that.
Okay. And there's another one, bio-based blades. Now, this would mean that making new blades out of a next-gen material that is recyclable. General Electric and Vestas are working on it. It's not deployed at any kind of scale yet. Now, here's what some of the states are doing. Texas says lease agreements must include recycling disposal responsibility. Wyoming, now this one's kind of clever, has a bill to ban landfill disposal, but allows blades as coal mine backfill. So
sure, that would make sense. Absolutely.
They're filling the holes. Yeah, I mean that one's not bad, right? Washington State has an EPR law for solar wind blade rules developing. Nebraska and Colorado, battery stewardship laws, wind blades not yet covered. New Jersey has an EV battery landfill ban by 27, but wind blades still unaddressed. Who's going to throw EV batteries in a landfill anyways? Some of these things, it's like there's another situation where lawmakers don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was my hit piece on.
No, that's not so bad.
No, it's not. But you're right. If there was, that was my first thought. Would there be a way to shred it and put it into concrete?
Yeah.
So when you're building roads, this is one of the interesting things about roads. So when you think about asphalt and cement used in roads, the primary aggregate is limestone. Okay. Now in Florida, they use granite, and the granite, there's not very many places that have like granite aggregate, but they use it because it's better when it's really slick roads. And Florida tends to use asphalt and the granite works better in the asphalt. Whereas here we use concrete for our roads.
They must. I can't think of where you'd find granite in Florida. It's got to be coming out of Georgia, at least, I would think.
A lot of it comes out of Nova Scotia.
Well, okay. Ship it
Yeah,
down.
and other places on the eastern coast, but there is some places in Georgia you can get it. But it's very interesting because one of my friends owns granite quarries in Brazil, and we were discussing that. But there's a huge difference in the quality of what he gets in Brazil versus what comes to the United States. The U.S. granite is crap, and it's good for roads. His stuff in Brazil is
countertop quality,
because it's awesome looking.
Yeah.
So it's a different, totally different piece. We haven't talked about LUBER.
Okay. Talk about LUBER. I've got a couple of things I want to bring up, but go ahead.
If I can find my LUBER article, give me just a second here. Lucid unveils Robotaxi. Just like I call, people have been around long enough, they've heard me call the Tesla Robotaxi Tuber. So I'm going to call the Lucid one LUBER, and targets late decade profitability. Ooh, 3 mid-size models coming: the Cosmos, the Earth, and an unnamed third model, all under $50,000 to compete with the Rivian R2. Is it really to compete with the Rivian R2, or are they really trying to compete with the Model Y? I mean, I think that's kind of silly to say that.
Are they talking about building an electric version of a Land Rover Discover, right?
Yeah. But hasn't Land Rover gotten or Range Rover gotten a huge... They have a huge amount of back orders for an electric Range Rover. I mean, they've taken deposits. I think it's like 50,000 orders.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I want to bring that up here in a minute about the pace and speed of which EVs are being ordered around the world.
So all are under 50,000. Plus, a dedicated 2-seat Robotaxi concept was revealed by Lucid. $1 billion software revenue target. Lucid plans recurring subscription services ranging from $69 to $199 per month, launching in early 27 with full autonomy capability by 29. Uber partnership expanding to mid-size vehicles. They're still bleeding cash, and the stock's down 8% despite the most detailed expansion plans per date. All right, Bill, what do you want to cover today?
Oh, well, while we're talking about the pace at which cars are being published an article here. I think it's on the website that shows that some of the new Chinese models are being ordered. You don't have to go look at the article, but it's like within an hour. I think one of them was within an hour. 20,000 orders were placed.
Was that the updated SU7?
I think it's the updated SU7. Yeah. But then also the SU7, there's an interesting video that came out about this new super metal again, I've done this. You go look at the website under the editor's picks or the editor's exclusives. But the number of Chinese models are being ordered within the first 24 hours. They've got thousands of orders put in for them. And also I wanted to point out the fact that Toyota is introducing a luxury electric sedan for the equivalent of $22,000, but only in China.
Of course.
Only in China. And then we have the ambassador, I think it's the ambassador to Canada, who is telling that sure, Canada, go ahead and you can bring in all the Chinese electric vehicles you want, but we won't let them cross the border into the U.S. So what does that mean? You mean I'm a Canadian citizen and I want to drive down to Seattle to take in a hockey game or whatever, right? And you're not going to let me cross the border because I'm driving a BYD?
That seems silly.
Or is it just simply that you as a U.S. citizen can't go to Canada, buy one, and bring it in here and register it?
I suspect it's probably the latter and not the former. Yeah. I want to talk, you have something on this this off-lease EV wave. This is really some crazy stats.
That's some really interesting numbers. I did
Yeah.
AI and I did this story together.
No,
So.
this is really good, Bill. So in 2025, 123,000 EVs came off lease. In 2026, that number is supposed to go from 123 to somewhere between 215 and 330,000. So that's somewhere between double and 2.5 times as many. But in 27, it'll be at least 650,000
vehicles.
Now,
Yep.
that's going to be a lot of used EVs hitting the market. And it's going to be the first time in U.S. history. That's going to get a lot of adoption.
Oh, yeah.
You're really going to see. So,
and then there's, to add to that, there is the fact that, they have been undervaluing that, there's stories about, well, all these leasing companies are going to lose so much money because, the value of EVs is, way below, what an comparable ICE vehicle would be. And I got to thinking, well, is that true? When you see the numbers of new EVs that are being ordered within hours, around the world, other than the United States, do suddenly the fact that we've got this, which could be, it could all end tomorrow morning when the White House comes out and said, we won, open the Straits of Hormuz, and everything goes back to normal, which incidentally it won't, because the physics of oil wells and things of that nature, you can't bring them back online and expect to be pumping tomorrow. Just not, it doesn't work that way. So are we going to see this escalating prices? I think we're now something like, maybe nationally, we're close to $4 a gallon. And I've heard some commentators talking about, well, I'm paying $5 a gallon right now. And if you go out to California or Seattle, it could be $6 or more. So is that going to precipitate this interest now in these lease? I mean, the cars I bought, my two EVs, are both cars that came off of leases. And I saved a ton of money. I love both of them. Are other people now going to have that discussion? I had an interesting conversation. I took part in the No Kings rally and was going around and talking to different people. And I talked to a former Marine. And so he was saying, well, I'd be interested in electric cars, but there's this problem with, the batteries. I have to replace the battery in the thing. I said, no, you don't have to worry about that. The batteries now are going to outlast the car, right? All this is, well, I might, if that's the case. And I said, excuse me. And we've got charging now down to 5 minutes in some cases, right? So are we going to have more people like that Marine start to think, well, I can pick up a off-lease car, what's got 20, I think what the average mileage is where 20 to under 25, under 30,000 miles, and the average is about 22 to 25, something like that. So you're getting basically a low mileage electric car that doesn't use any gas, that's cheap to operate, doesn't require you to go in to a dealer, with any kind of frequency that your gas car does. Is that going to stimulate an interest in that market? And suddenly those cars that all these leaseholder or leasing companies were valueless, basically, is that going to stimulate that market and increase the value of those cars? Those are all unknowns, right? That we don't know at this point. But I think we're really interesting. And when I saw the numbers that you just quoted, I thought, wow, this is something that nobody's taken into account yet.
No. And it's still, though, when you think about it, the total number of cars that have been sold in the U.S., even with 650,000 hitting the market, that's still probably only be like 10% of the used cars hitting the market.
It's a fraction. Yeah.
I think
I saw a figure, something like 20 million used electric cars, something like that annually. Or used cars annually
are sold.
So, yeah, totally.
Yeah, 650,000 won't be a huge dent in that, but still, it certainly make them a lot more common.
Now,
I guess you're going to see a lot like on the West Coast, but it'd be nice to see more in our part of the country.
Oh yeah. Well, are we going to? The only thing not being said is that all those previous leaseholders, right, the leasee, are going to be trading that car in. The question is, what are they going to be trading to? What are they going to be driving next, right? Are they going to be going back to a gas car? The figures show that about 90% of people that once they drive an electric car, they don't go back.
Yep. All right. Well, Bill, we went a little longer today, and I was.
Oh, we did. I apologize.
Okay.
You vented. I had to vent. So
no, it's fine. Okay. Anyways, folks, I'll be back tomorrow with our engineer Mike Herzog. Bill and I should be back on Friday. Otherwise, folks, thanks for watching, and have a great day.